RusAme reader, Crow Song, and today I will be reading to you from Never Left by Plastic Bag 3207. Now, on to Chapter 5. Germany opened the sliding glass door and let everyone outside. Fritz ran out into the yard, still pumped for whatever was going to happen next. Germany smiled at the energetic jog. He grabbed a tennis ball and chucked it across the yard. Fritz barked and ran after it, all while Chips just watched. "Chips!" Germany called to get the dog's attention. The dog turned his head. "Chips, fetch!" he yelled as he threw the tennis ball. At first, he was hesitant, but he trotted over and picked it up. "Come on, Chips, bring it back!" Germany called. America knew exactly what he was supposed to do, but he had a rebellious side to him and wasn't going to let them get off that easily. The dog wagged its tail and trotted across the yard, not towards Germany and the others. "Chips!" Russia called. Poland started to laugh as he cuddled Dukesy. Germany started to walk towards Chips. It quickly turned into a game of chasing the dog around the yard. All while Poland just laughed as he watched the two men chase the dog. Eventually, all three of them got too tired to chase each other. Then Chips walked over to the tired-out German and dropped the tennis ball. Everything went dead silent. "Oh my God," Germany said as the other two burst out laughing. America was laughing too, but to them it probably sounded like barking or other weird dog noises. The German translates to, "Oh my God." Fritz looked over at Chips. It felt a little odd. America stopped laughing and looked over at Fritz, uncomfortable with being stared at. The three countries were still laughing pretty hard. "Hey, it's almost 12. Want to stick around for lunch?" Poland offered to Russia. He smiled. "If you are willing to keep me around, sure," he said with a smile. It had been quite a long time since he had stayed for lunch at Germany and Poland's house. The three walked inside. "Chips! Fritz!" Poland called for the dogs, letting them back inside. Russia smiled as he watched Poland make some pierogi for them to eat. They had a lovely conversation about how boring the UN meetings were. Germany, of course, argued that they weren't that boring, but then again, it was Germany. He loved to work. The only things that could get him to stop work was Poland, his dogs, or when he needed some more coffee. Luckily, with the help of his husband, Germany had been starting to break those bad habits. "Hey, Ger?" Russia asked while looking at Chips, who was drooling while watching the man eat. "Yeah?" "You have any clues why Chips wouldn't eat his food this morning? The shelter said it's what they recommend for him," Russia asked, still looking at the dog. Germany thought for a moment. "Well, he might just not like the food. It could also be because it's a new place and he was uncomfortable," Germany suggested. Russia nodded, taking that into account. He looked back at the dog. "What kind of dog do you think he is?" Russia asked. Poland looked over. "I think he's a mix," he said. Germany thought for a moment before saying anything. "Well, I'm sure he's a mix. They found him in the streets, right?" Russia nodded. "I think he has some German Shepherd in him. Maybe a little husky? Either way, he'll need lots of exercise, so be prepared for that," Germany said, finishing the last of his pierogi. Russia nodded. "You had a dog before, right, Russ?" Poland asked. The tall man nodded. Yeah, she was a street dog my siblings and I named Laika, he said, smiling as he remembered his younger self and siblings playing with her. Did you have any pets growing up? Russia asked, looking over to Poland. He shook his head. No, not really. There was a stray cat that I would sometimes feed, but it never got too close. Its visits were also infrequent, and one day it just stopped showing up altogether. Sometimes I wonder what happened to it. Sadly, I think it probably meant a gruesome end. He mumbled that last part. I'm sorry. Russia started to apologize, but the small man cut him off. It's okay. I never got too emotionally attached anyways, he said with a smile. Germany grabbed the empty dishes and walked over to the sink to watch them. After he was done, the three walked into the living room and watched as Fritz tried to get Chips to play again. Russia chuckled. He really doesn't know how to dog, does he? He said with a smile. Yeah, that was kind of like Fritz when I first found him. He didn't really want to do anything but follow me, Germany said, thinking back to when he first found the dog with its head stuck in a fence. Oh, and remember when he first met Russia? He didn't like his Oshanga. Poland said. They all lightly chuckled. I think May would have really liked him, Poland said, not really thinking about it. Russia felt his heart sink along with the joyful expression on his face. Germany looked over to the Russian. Poland immediately regretted saying anything. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. Poland was quickly cut off by Russia standing up. It's all right, Poland, he said as tears began to well up in his eyes. Chip stood up and started to lick the man's hand. I think I should go. His voice cracked in the middle of his sentence. Rusland, would you like me to drive you home? I can get an Uber back here, the German offered. Russia nodded. He felt bad because he knew Poland felt guilty for saying anything, but he couldn't help himself. He knew he would never be able to truly accept that America was gone. He could act like it, but it wasn't going to happen. It just wasn't. Russia couldn't even imagine himself with any other country. The ride back to his house was relatively silent, other than the quiet sobs from Russia. Germany helped his friend to the door and pulled the car into the garage as it started to thunderstorm. There was a quick goodbye and an apology. And with that, Germany had left. Russia went into the kitchen and grabbed a bottle of vodka from out of the cabinet. He started to drink. He drank and drank. 2 bottles later, the man sat at the kitchen table, staring at a photo of him and America in the top of the Space Needle. Behind them was a beautiful view of the city. He grabbed the bottle of vodka and took the last sip, finishing it. All while this was going on, America was mortified. How could this happen? How had no one else been there to help him? He stepped forward out of the corner of the room. Don't ever forget to tell yourself that I'll always be there for you, no matter what. Russia quoted America's last words. Oh, really? Huh? Well, where are you, Mary? I don't see you now, the man yelled. Chips lowered his ears and walked up to Russia, setting his head on the man's knee. He looked over to the white dog and reached down to pet him. Risky, I'm right here. I didn't lie, he said, even though he knew that Russia wouldn't just think that he was barking at him. Hush, please, dog. My headache in the morning will be enough. the man said. He sounded so broken, so lost. He stood up and headed towards his bedroom so he could get some sleep, knowing that he had a UN meeting in the morning. Chips followed him into bed. This time, Russia couldn't be bothered to tell the dog to get off. Instead, he almost welcomed it. He missed having another warm body to keep him company at night. And that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you. Just enjoy your time. And I will see you tomorrow.